scheduled to learn the Holy Torah, which is our life, and the length of our days is the most important thing in our life. We're learning the Kitzer Likutey Moharan. We're holding by number 18, which is going to speak about the topic of anger as well as many other important topics. Let us begin. Rabbi Yochanan Mishtoi Kartolisa. Rabbi Yochanan related a basket, as the Talmud says in Baba Basra 74a. So we're going to learn about this concept from the Talmud of speaking about a basket. Let us continue. So everything has a purpose or goal, which it was meant to achieve. One thing's purpose has another higher purpose, and that higher purpose has another even higher purpose, and so on. The main thing, however, is the final goal, which is the delight of the world to come. This is the ultimate purpose and goal of the entire creation, and the reason for everything that exists in the world. But there is no one who is able to comprehend and grasp this goal in his thoughts except the tzaddikim, the sages. And each Jew, in accordance with the root that he has in the soul of the tzaddik, the sage, receives this conception of the goal from the tzaddik to the degree that he breaks his anger with compassion. In this way, he will merit to reach and to comprehend the purpose in everything in the world. And this is the most important thing. So the most important thing, goal in life, is to realize, I said this before and people criticize, this comes from Rabbi Nachman is saying the most important thing in life is to realize that there's a higher purpose to everything, and the final destination for us is the world to come. Why is the world to come so important? Because in the world to come, we're able to go, according to the Talmud, and point and say, this is Hashem. Not that we actually see Hashem, but we see Hashem's light, and we understand the purpose of the world. Right? Once we understand the purpose of the world, we're relaxed. We don't have anger anymore. Once we think that we should receive something better, we have pride and this anger, we're tight inside. We're not in sync. Okay? Once you realize that purpose, that's why the sages are in sync, because they realize the tachlis, the purpose of the world. What's the purpose of the world? It's to know Hashem and the world to come. So once they know this and understand this, you're connected. And so we get connected by plugging into the tzaddik and the sage, who is already connected to this area. A person must break his anger with compassion. In other words, when he becomes angry, he must not give vent to his anger by acting cruelly. Rather, to the contrary, he must then prevail to act with great compassion regarding that which he wishes to be angry about, and temper his anger with compassion. In this way, a crown is made for the humble people who flee from honor and authority, and they are then forced to accept this honor and authority. So we have to break our anger with compassion. Okay, like we have to see the midas of Hashem. Hashem, even though Hashem gets angry, I think it says in the Gemara, for like a second. And then they say, well, how long is that second? And then there's a whole Gemara about this. Okay, but Hashem breaks that anger with compassion. Okay, and it's for like this. It says how long it takes to go and walk a mil, all these different things the Gemara says. Okay, so we have to act like the midas of Hashem. We have to break our anger, okay, and fill it with compassion. Okay, so according to the diminishment of faith, so is Hashem's countenance hidden and his anger manifest, God forbid. Then the tzaddik and the sages flee from positions of authority and honor, and the world has no true leader. But when the people break their anger with compassion, divine anger is thereby tempered, and the true tzaddik and the sages accept honor and positions of leadership. Then people merit a true leader who will show compassion to them and lead them properly, bringing each person to the ultimate goal. So when we break our anger, it helps the tzaddikim and the sages, and it helps them to be able to enter positions of leadership, and to help us that they'll be able to become rabbanim, and they're able to go and do more. When we have anger, we're making that more difficult. Rabbi Nachman's going to explain more. Sometimes there exists a lack in the world in that people's faith is not completely intact. even though a certain amount of faith does exist. Consequently, Hashem's anger, God forbid, and the hiddenness of his countenance are not so readily recognizable, since the lack of faith is only very slightly. Only when this lack of faith trickles down and reaches the tzaddikim, the sages, they later hide their faces from the world and do not want to lead it. But since Hashem's anger is then very minimal, only lasting for a split second, right? I said that before, from the Talmud, and the tzaddikim do not attribute the fact that they are hiding their faces to this rage. Instead, they attribute it to their own insignificance, saying that they are not fit to lead the world. The truth is that they do not know about or sense this infinitesimal trace of anger either. But when rage and divine anger are tempered by compassion, then divine anger that exists for the sages is mitigated by compassion. Consequently, compassion prevails upon them, and they take pity on the world. They are willing to lead, and the world merits a true leader who will lead them with compassion. So, why is it that the tzaddikim do not have? It says like it's difficult for them to lead. People assume because they're not in the tzaddik's position, they don't realize. I was just speaking about this tonight with my wife. We don't realize the hundreds of people that are trying to reach the sage on a regular basis, taking up time, and it's very difficult to take that leadership. They're taking responsibility. If a sage says something wrong in halacha, they're responsible for that. They're taking tremendous responsibility, and it's difficult to do that. And so the anger that exists in the world, and inside us, it makes it more difficult for them to lead. And you want to go and bring it down even further. People don't realize how much the sages have to deal with anger. People are angry at them. They don't do this right. They're constantly under judgment because they're in the public eye. And people assume that people are compassionate, but the sages take on tremendous amounts of rebuke and not receiving honor. And so it's very difficult to be in their position. Okay, we're going to continue. Rabbi Nachman is going to open this up for us soon. By undoing anger with compassion, a person thereby merits faith, and harsh judgments are mitigated. Consequently, when a person's faith is intact, he thereby merits compassion and can break his anger, right? Why do we have anger? Because we have pride. We don't have faith in God. When we have faith in God, our anger diminishes. Okay, we're angry because we believe we deserve more. We believe Hashem is not giving us a good, pathway, and we want more. So we have anger, and this anger that we have built up is causing more judgment. Okay, it's causing more harsh decrees. Okay, and you have to understand, anger is one of the most difficult things that people have to overcome in life. For me, I had a point in my life when I had constant anger, and I said the Igeres HaRamban every day for a year or two, okay, because it speaks about getting in the habit of speaking calmly, it says, and which will get rid of anger, which stems from pride. And I read this every day, this passage. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes. And I was able to start to read this, and I made a box. My friend, Rabbi Fleischman, told me, make a box and drop marbles in there. Every time you're angry, drop the marbles in instead. Okay, that anger is breaking us, okay? It's a lack of faith, that anger that we have, okay? Some of us are walking around angry, 10, 12 hours a day. Okay, you can't live like that, okay? And that's making the sages not want to lead, okay? Because the sages don't want to lead people that have constant anger. Believe me, it's more of a problem than you think. I was with someone the other day, and they had a difficult day, and they just took their anger out on me. And you know what happened with me? I mean, this person looks up to me in some ways. I don't want to be around them, okay? So I'm walking the other direction, okay? So that's what's happening to the sages, okay? We need sages to lead us. If we have anger and we're going to take it out on them, we're going to go and take it out on our friends, our family. It's not the way to live, and it says in the Gemara that if you have anger, the Shekhinah goes away from you, okay? That anger is a no-no in Yiddishkeit, okay? And it's not an easy thing to break. But I told you the Igeres HaRamban is one way. Take a jar of marbles, drop in, listen, say, that sound I hear dropping into that jar, that's my anger, because instead of the anger that I have, do some meditation. In my book, we're gonna have a whole chapter on things like that coming out in my book in Kabbalah. Okay, continuing. Does it sound better now? A person must not accept a position of leadership and authority unless his faith is absolutely perfect and flawless. I have to. That means I have to go and turn this off. Okay, don't accept a position of leadership unless your faith is absolutely perfect and flawless. For the quality most essential for leadership is compassion. And compassion primarily depends on the removal of idolatry. Even if such a person possesses a mere trace of idolatry, and he believes in its being some kind of omen, if a deer stopped him on the road, for instance, or any other thing which may be termed as the ways of Amorites, like superstition, even if he also believes in Hashem, his compassion is incomplete, and he must not accept a position of leadership. Even if he thinks that he has compassion on the world, and that is why he wishes to lead it in truth, he is actually pursuing honor and merely attributing it to his compassion. Such a leader can bring people to hearsay and atheism. God forbid, but heaven shows compassion and does not allow him to retain his position of authority. Wow. So that person eventually who is taking the position of authority, who doesn't necessarily deserve it because he doesn't really have true compassion, and he has this idea of idolatry. We're going to go into that also. I want to speak about that. So eventually he's going to lose his position. Okay, he doesn't really belong there. And the person who's humble, running away from positions of authority, Hashem is going to lift him up, the Talmud says, and put him in a position of authority. Not like our presidential candidates. So idolatry. What is this? When you have pride in your life, meaning that you think you deserve a lot more, okay, than what you have. I'm not saying you shouldn't work hard to get what you need, but when you always feel lacking and you're craving materialism and more honor and and thinking that you deserve everything. So this is a form of idolatry. There are many forms of idolatry. There could be just worshiping an idol, or there could be the idea of kind of worshiping yourself, where you think I, me. So a person that takes on a position of leadership because he's compassionate, he wants to help people. But someone for the false reasons, because he wants honor, and he's kind of worshiping himself, that person is not going to retain that position because Hashem is going to save the world. He's going to help us to break through this. But we know there are many leaders that are not 100% pure in their reasoning, but eventually that'll break. That's what we're learning here. We're very important chapter about anger, because I think it's a major character flaw in most of us. Through love of the sages, kingship and leadership are firmly established. Conversely, when a king or leader feels hatred for the sages, you can be certain that heaven is going to depose him of his kingship. For without wisdom, the world cannot continue to exist. Through faith, the letters and speech attain their perfection. So we learned in this chapter that everything has a higher purpose. And even when you find that purpose that you found for why things are happening has an even higher purpose above that. And what is that purpose? It's the world to come. Okay? And what's the purpose of the world to come? To be able to point and say, that's Hashem. What does it mean, that's Hashem? As the Talmud says, that you see Hashem's compassion to the world. Okay? You see, and that's what we're going to do. And in the world to come, we sit and we study Torah. We see what how Hashem is ruling the world. And this is the greatest light. The greatest light is seeing Hashem's compassion and being close to Him and seeing this light and being connected. And so the sages are able to go and get that connection to Hashem in this way, seeing the real talk, the real purpose. And it's our anger that causes a division in the world. It causes a division in ourselves, that we can't attain these things, that we don't see the purpose and the goal. Okay, and we've got to go and break that anger in any means possible. We've got to get through the anger. It's not fair to our family, to our friends, to our rabbis, to anyone to walk around with anger in our hearts. It destroys a person internally, and so we've got to break that anger. And you know, it can take a lot of work, but you can do it. It's very, very important. And we spoke a little bit about that inside the lesson. And that concludes lesson 17. Lesson 18. Did I write 17 on the topic? Yeah, we're at 18. So I'll probably have to fix that. Thank you so much for coming. Please share the video and leave some comments so I can make it a little improve. We're here to improve. Thank you so much.